Once upon a time, there was a family who lived in the mountains. Even though they are far from civilization, they lived with contentment and harmony. Pedro and Becca had 8 children at that time. Pedro works at the farm along with his 2 sons, the eldest and the second child. Becca stayed at home to take good care of the rest of the children and raise the farm animals. The simple life they thought back then was the only important thing that ever happened to them. They've got all the things that they needed. There was nothing left to ask for. They were happy and blessed until one day their life started to change. Papa! Simon shouted while running into their home and gasping with air when he entered the house. "What is wrong, Simon? You startled me," Pedro said to his eldest son. "You have to come with me, Papa. Our cow downhill is already dead," Simon said while he is dragging his father to follow him downhill, just a couple of miles away from their home. Pedro was in a horrible state as he watched the cow lying down on the grass lifeless. Pedro kneels and checks thoroughly the poor animal. There was no sign of a huge damage to the body, but looking at the face of the animal paled with shock. He continues checking the poor creature to determine the cause of its death. As he checked the neck, he found the 2 holes next to one another. It looks like a pit. "Papa, it looks like some wild animal bit the cow. It looks like a big animal like tiger," Simon said with confusion in his face. "If it is the tiger, it will leave more damage on the poor animal, but as you can see, there's no sign of huge damage on the body," Pedro explained. He was still puzzled about what kind of animal could possibly attack it. "Poor cow," Simon said. "Simon, call your brother. We need to bury the cow. Maybe it's a snake or other poisonous animal bit our cow. It might poison us if we cook and eat it," Pedro said. Simon followed his father's demand. They buried the cow on the same spot where it dies. Things happened unexpectedly, Pedro thought, so he just let it go and didn't mind it seriously. After the incident, they went back home. One night, Becca wakes up because of the tiny footsteps and sound coming under their neighbor house. She tried to ignore it, but she saw her 10-year-old daughter wake up. "Mama, I'm scared. I heard someone walking under our house," Stella whispered. "Shh, it's okay, Stella. Maybe it's the goat that got out from the barn. Don't be scared, darling," Becca said while comforting her daughter, and they went back to sleep. Everyone was frightened when the morning came. 2 of their goats are dead. The same with the cow, it has 2 holes in their neck. The blood of the animals almost drained. "It's the wild animal who bit the 2 goats," Becca uttered while looking at the poor animals. "It's impossible because if the wild animals did it, it should cause a loud noise and could possibly wake us up, especially the goat. They will make a sound when some creatures hurt them. But there was no sound," Pedro said. "I woke up last night and also Stella. We heard tiny footsteps, but not so loud. But it's so strange. Why the goat didn't cry?" Becca added. "On that matter, I don't know. Also, the cow 3 days ago didn't make any sound. At some point, it makes me suspicious," said Pedro. "In just a week, we lost our 3 animals, which helped us on our living. Thinking about it makes me sad and worry, Becca said with full of worries on her face. Don't worry, Becca. We will find a way to catch the culprit that causes the killing of our farm animals. And we will double the fence to make sure our remaining animals are safe. Pedro convinced Becca that everything was under control. The whole family got busy on that day, strengthening the fence of the animals as long as the walls of the barn. Pedro makes sure that the fence won't break easily by outsiders, and if falls, it would cause a loud noise which will be able to warn them from intruders. One day, when Pedro went already to the farm with his 2 sons, and Becca went to the river to wash the laundry together with her 2 other sons and 3 daughters, Stella and her 2 younger sisters were left alone. It was their routine once a week. When their mother does the laundry, some of the kids were supposed to be left at home. Also, the river was not that far from their home. As usual, Stella starts to cook rice for dinner around 5 in the afternoon, so that when their mother arrives home later, she will cook the viand only. As Stella continued cooking, she heard banging outside. Sound seems coming from the barn beside her house. Stella dropped the ladle on the table and left the kitchen. She went straight to her siblings, who are frightened at that moment, caused by the loud noise outside. Shh! It's okay. It's just some of the goats fighting each other. There is no need to be scared. I'm here now. Stella comforting her 2 little sisters. Stella remains with her sisters until the banging becomes more aggressive and the animals start making noises as if they were frightened and attacked by an aggressive wild animal. Stella, our chickens are scared and our goats are crying. We need to help them. Maybe it's the thief and he will take them away, said Anna, who was just 7 at the time. I'm scared. Where's Mama and Papa? Said 5-year-old Ame, the youngest. Please, Stella, let's save our poor animals from that thief, said Anna. Okay, I will go down and check, but you promise me, Anna, you will never leave your sister alone. The 2 of you stay here. No matter what you will hear, never ever leave the house. If it's the thief, I will go down the river to tell Mama. Promise me, Anna, said Stella, who is trying to act like a big sister and hide her fear. I promise, Stella, said Anna. It's already 6 p.m. and the sun has set already. Stella carries the small kerosene lamp to guide her. She slowly opens the main door and steps down on the wooden stairs, her heart starting to beat fast. Goosebumps all over her body. She's heading towards the barn, and as she comes near, she can clearly hear the whimpering of the animals inside the barn. When she was approaching the barn, she could clearly see the broken fence, walls, and doors. Stella was in front of the small gate of the fence when she hears again the screeching of the animals. When Stella was in front of the door of the barn, it's already open. Stella stepped inside the barn and she saw feathers scattered on the ground and a shadow that's moving behind the poor goat. And she slowly raised the kerosene lamp to the thing which causes all the chaos inside the barn. As she points the kerosene lamp to that thing, Stella was frightened as she saw the most horrific scene. She saw a creature looks like a man eating the poor animal. Stella can't hide that horrible situation. She shouted as loud as she could. Papa, Mama! Stella shouted and fell on the ground with lamp still on her hand. The creature stops and slowly turned around. Pedro and his sons are close enough now and can clearly hear Stella's shout. "Papa, it's Stella," Simon said with a worried voice. Pedro wasted no time. They rushed into the house as fast as they could. Stella whimpering as she looks at the creature's face slowly crawling towards her direction. The eyes wide open. Large, pointed ears. Face full of wrinkles just like the skin of an old man. Mouth wide open. Teeth were sharp as shark. It looks direct at Stella's direction with green on its face. It looks like a monster. When it starts wiggling its tail and the smile on its face slowly widens. The face was so horrible. Stella was terrified and couldn't even move. She couldn't control the fear she felt. "No," she whispered. "Please stay away." Stella forcibly closed her eyes. Before the creature comes near to Stella, Pedro already rushing inside and held Stella. "Stella!" Pedro shouted. The creature ran fast like lightning through the bushes and faded into the night shadows. "Papa!" Stella cried as she opened her eyes and hugged her father tightly. "It's okay, my child. Don't be frightened. Papa is here now." Pedro comforted his daughter. Simon went upstairs to check on his two little sisters, while Nilo went to the river to bring her mother home with other siblings. When Becca reached home, she was panicking and hugging Stella. "I'm so sorry, my child. I will never leave you alone anymore," Becca said in a very worried voice. She stayed with the kids inside the house while Simon, Nilo, and Andres remained in the barn with their father. They were checking the animals. Pedro touches the goat's throat, feeling the pulse coming through it, but there was no pulse. Pedro punched the ground out of anger and uttered some curses as he can't hide the rage and frustration any longer. It is too much to bear. "We must keep the animals here in the barn until the sun will rise. For now, we must join your mother upstairs," Pedro said to his sons. They went upstairs and gathered together for dinner. Pamela, the third child, and Anthony, the fifth child, prepared the dinner while Becca stayed with Stella, who still traumatized of what she witnessed that night. Stella described the image she encountered at the barn while crying. Pedro was convinced that it was a monster, a demon that Stella encountered a while ago, and its dangerous creature. Becca kept on comforting her daughter. She felt guilty about leaving her daughter alone with the young ones. "I am so proud of you for being so brave, for protecting your little sisters," Becca said while caressing Stella's hair. "Don't be scared now, my child. Papa will catch the monsters and your brothers will never leave you and your sisters. I will never let that monster hurt you, nor your siblings," Pedro assured Stella. The last nodded only, while wiping her tears. Pedro remained steady but curled his fist. Deep in his mind now is to find an opportunity to catch the demon. The next morning, Pedro and his kids buried the animals that were devoured by the monster last night. When they finished, Pedro asked his boys to come along with him to the forest to cut some bamboo sticks to make a weapon for their defense whenever the monster attacked again. "It is important to be ready all the time. We need to be vigilant from now on," Pedro said. Simon is already 19 years old and he was physically well built and closest to his father figure. Pedro put all the responsibility to Simon and Nilo for protecting their family whenever Pedro was not at home. He gave the bamboo stick to each of them, Simon, Nilo, Andres, and Anthony, when they finished sharpening it. "This is your protection whenever you encounter that demon. Take no chances," Pedro added. The night came. Becca and Pamela were preparing the bedding, while Pedro and the other kids were still in the living area when suddenly they heard a loud bang on the roof. The tremendous blow that was delivered from the roof was unbearable. "Bring your bamboo stick outside," Pedro ordered his sons while he took his dagger. Becca stayed with the rest of the children while Pedro and his 4 sons went outside to catch the monster. When they were outside, they saw the creature. It was standing on the roof. Through the light of the full moon, they can clearly saw that the monster has human figure and the body looks like a midget man. "Whoever you are, intruder, go down and face me," Pedro shouted, but the intruder jumped from the roof and vanished through the bushes. Simon, who carries the kerosene lamp, was ordered by his father to go back inside the house with his brothers. Simon followed his father. Only the full moon and the kerosene lamp produced lights on the way where Pedro headed to follow the intruder through the bushes. Obviously, at that moment, either his life or his livestock would be in danger. He doesn't care anymore. The devil must be gone. With all of his strength and braveness, he is now ready to face the monster. Pedro stops in the middle of the field, surrounded by the bushes, when he saw the bushes in front of him moving and it stopped. "I know you are hiding. Show yourself," Pedro shouted while he gripped the dagger in his hand. He knows could catch him before it moves to the other bushes. There was no response, nor small sound, but horrible silence. Pedro was startled when he heard a tiny footstep coming out from the bushes. Pedro prepared himself to face the monster who destroyed their livestock and scared his family. "You will pay for what you did," Pedro thought, but he couldn't deny the fear that conquered him at that time. The monster slowly stepped out from the bushes. It slowly showing itself, and when Pedro saw clearly the face of that intruder, he almost lost his steadiness. It looks exactly how Stella described it. The intruder was grinning at him. "It's the rare devil that I've never seen before," Pedro said to himself. The eyes wide open, large pointed ears, face full of wrinkles just like the skin of an old man, mouth wide open, teeth were sharp as a shark, and it started laughing. When the devil started laughing out loud, the mouth widened and widened until the lips almost covered its face, showing the sharp teeth. Pedro was too stunned to speak. At the blink of an eye, the monster jumped onto him and tried to bite his neck, but he managed to strike the monster on the face with his dagger. Before the monster jumped down, it scratched Pedro's shoulder, causing his shirt to be torn. The monster laughed again. "Papa!" Simon shouted while rushing in his father's direction. Nilo and Simon saw the monster and it was still laughing. Nilo grabbed his father and Simon looked at the monster. It was still laughing. Simon used the opportunity to stab the monster with his bamboo stick. It hit the shoulder of the demon that caused its whimpering and growling. It's in pain. As quick as thunder, it vanished through the night shadows. Nilo and Simon carry their father back to their place. Becca cleaned the wounds of her husband. Something happened terrible to Pedro. He can't barely move his shoulder. It starts also to infect the other areas of his shoulder, causing it to be in severe pain. Herbal leaves and ointment can't heal Pedro's wound. The family decided to leave their place and go back to Becca's family hometown, where her parents and other siblings live. There, Pedro can be treated well in the hospitals. For so many reasons, they needed to leave the place for good. And aside from losing most of their livelihood, they were no longer safe staying in that place. The end. Thank you so much for watching. See you again.